Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Marie Yambo. As usual, our social media handles at Marie Yambo, at KBC Channel 1 on Twitter, KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook. Would like to hear from you. Now, menopause is characterized by the cessation of menstruation and a decline in the production of reproductive hormones, particularly the estrogen and progesterone. Well, it is also characterized by various symptoms that can also cause discomfort. Now, to help us understand what menopause is Dr. Kireki Omanwa, an obstetrician, gynecologist, fertility specialist, and the current president of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society, that is COGS. And Fatma Mohammed is the founder, WellnessKE. Well, she will be explaining how nutrition is key to not just your overall wellness during this period, but how you can manage the symptoms using nutrition. Welcome, lady and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you also for coming in. Now, let's start by, first of all, understanding what menopause is, and I would want Dr. Kireki to explain that.
Thank you very much. Yes. And actually, it feels nice sitting between two women,
exactly,
discussing about female issues.
And it's also nice to have a man actually explain that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
Now, we cannot talk about menopause without talking about menarche.
Okay.
Menarche is the beginning. When does a young lady start having a period? Mm-hmm. And usually it starts around 13, 14, 15 years, even though sometimes it can start a little bit early, around maybe 11 years, 10 years, even though that is rare. Now, why is this important? It is important because this now signifies that this young lady is actually a woman in the sense that she has started her reproductive period and she can actually become pregnant. Now, ladies are born, or young girls are born with a set number of eggs, which are stored in the ovaries. Every time a woman has a period, she loses about between 500 and 800 eggs every month. So by the time you get to menopause, that number is not that it's completely lost or completely finished. It is very, very diminished. In your introduction, you talked about menopause starting around 45, around 50s, and so on, which is very good. But that is the physiological process of aging, as it were. Remember, we start, as babies, we grow up, become adolescents, become teenagers, and then we start our reproductive period. You have your children grow up with all their problems and so on, and then at some point they leave home and you are left alone, and that process now starts. And we can't straight away talk about menopause without talking about the perimenopause. So there are basically three stages.
Yeah.
So there is the menarche, then there is the reproductive period, then there is the perimenopause, and then there is the menopause. Okay. Now,
I'll come to the stages, yeah?
Yes.
So just like you said, from 45 to 55, that's just the physiological process of aging and all that. I'd like to bring Fatma in. How then, you're very big on issues of nutrition.
Yeah.
How then is nutrition key during this period, this very crucial period when, the women are experiencing different things, can I say, in their bodies?
I would say nutrition is very important before you get to perimenopause and menopause, and it's also important during the process. And I'm sure Dr. will even expound on this. It's the fact that when women are going through menopause, they actually experience a dip in estrogen and progesterone, these two hormones that have been sustaining them all throughout their reproductive years. Now, the thing about it is that it's more or less like if, let's say, we have power right now and then we don't have power anymore, you have a generator that's your backup. So your adrenal glands become your backup. meaning they are the ones that are now supplying you with estrogen and progesterone instead of your ovaries, because your ovaries would supply you with enough in order for you to be able to become pregnant, to have your menses and so forth. Now that you're going through this phase, you're not going to become pregnant, you're not going to go through your menses. Now you need your adrenal glands to actually support you in such a way that they provide you with these hormones. So the most important thing is that to focus on supporting your adrenal glands through nutrition, which is why we focus on healthy fats and focus on protein, because these two are very important when it comes to hormone production. Because remember, you're already experiencing a dip in hormones. They're quite low. And so because they're low, you want to be able to support your body and the glands that produce these hormones so that they can produce enough so you don't experience the really uncomfortable symptoms like vaginal dryness, hot flashes, mood swings, which are actually because of very low progesterone. Because women who experience really low progesterone end up having mood swings and issues like that. So nutrition is very, very key. Yeah.
You'll be explaining to us, especially like, and Dr. Mana, I know you'll also explain more on some of the health risks when it comes to aging and all that. But then again, how you can actually incorporate nutrition in terms of, you know, preventing, I'll just give an example like osteoporosis and all that. But before we even get into the different stages that you mentioned about menopause, let me just take you back a little bit. Why is it that we don't talk about it?
I think, I don't know. There are many, yeah, that is the truth. I think most of the time things which affect us, things which affect our normal physiological or the normal way that our body behaves, and then they start being abnormal, quote unquote, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about the menstrual period because we think that is something secret, it's a myth, it's something that is shameful. Don't talk about it. We don't talk about menopause as well, because the ladies who are once beautiful and, you know, everybody was looking at them and so on, they've started aging, you know, they have, you know, folds and so on. With a dry skin, we don't want to talk about that. We want to remain, to have that picture that was always there. Those beautiful, you know, ladies. We don't want to talk about things which affect men as well, because men also do undergo their, it's not menopause, but andropause as well. They also undergo.
And probably you could mention some of, because there is this misconception that men actually do not undergo menopause.
Oh, they do.
Or at least,
They do, because as we grow older as well, the same thing happens which happen in women. In that the hormone, basically the hormones that that basically define a man and a woman is basically estrogen is for women and testosterone is for men. So estrogen is the one which makes women be women, think like women, behave like women, look like women, think emotionally, look beautiful. You have breasts, you have hips, you know, and so on. There are things which women do because of the estrogen, which men can't do. And for us gentlemen, it's the testosterone. Testosterone is what defines men. It's what makes us have deeper voices. It makes us have, you know, bigger muscle mass. We are more aggressive, and so on. So as we age, these hormones actually tend to reduce in life. And as they tend to reduce in life, these symptoms, the ones that you mentioned, for ladies, for example, you start having hot flashes. You know, you are seated and then all of a sudden, poof, it's July and it is cold. People are in jackets and here you are sweating. And, you know, and then you don't know where it came from. You have issues with mood swings. You are happy all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden your husband does something and you blow the top and the man is like, what happened to this lady? We were laughing and now she's blowing, she's screaming at me all of a sudden. We have issues with turgidity of the skin. You know, ladies, we like your skin being nice and smooth and glowing and so on. All of a sudden it is dry, it is scaly and so on. You have issues with the vaginal dryness, which is a very, very big problem because with the estrogen that the ovaries produce actually is very, very important in the natural physiology of the vagina. So when it is not there, the mucous membrane becomes thinner, and when it becomes thinner, it's more prone to infection, and God forbid, intercourse, because it is dry. So having intercourse becomes hell on earth, and then there can be some bleeding as well because of that. So you don't even want to go there at all. And then apart from that, you have other issues altogether. You have issues of depression, because, as I said, this is a hormone which makes you think, behave, and, behave like a woman. So issues of depression, issues of low libido, issues of forgetfulness. Your mind becomes, foggy, as it were. You enter a room, you're going to look for keys, and then you enter, and then you're wondering, why did I come here? And then, that sort of thing. Okay. The same thing happens to men. The same thing happens to men. You find men, they avoid having sex. Why? Because they are not able to erect, or if they erect, it's only for a short time, and it's not the way it used to be before. You are hard, and and so on. And you also have these mood swings as well. You don't know where they come from, and you also have.
So it affects men and women in different ways.
It affects men and women in both ways.
And I think, a topic for another day when it comes to the issue of men and all that, because, when you talk about menopause in women, we look at it as their reproductive or ability now has
come to an end.
But for the man, even at 70 years, probably you can still reproduce.
That is the beauty.
So there's a little bit of the difference there. But then, Fatma, as Dr. was explaining the different, symptoms, the hot flashes, and all that, what are some of those, nutritional, aspects that we can incorporate to help us deal with these symptoms?
One thing that's very important is to always focus on the fact that your hormones as a woman have actually taken a dip. They are much lower, the levels. So you need foods that are actually going to be able to boost the natural production of hormones, enough hormones to be produced in your body so that you do not experience these symptoms. Again, it's important to mention not every woman experiences these symptoms, right? Because there are women who have been taking care of their health prior, and when they go into menopause, it's smooth because they have understood their bodies and have understood balancing their hormones. So one very important group of foods is known as phytoestrogens. Phyto basically is plants. So estrogen coming from plants. So there are foods that can actually supply you with natural sources of estrogen. Foods like flax seeds, which is what we have here. We have flax seeds, we have pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, a huge variety of foods that are rich in healthy fats will actually help you in providing your body with phytoestrogens, because remember, your estrogen levels are much lower. And also making sure that you also focus on foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, foods also rich in vitamin D is very important. You also need to make sure that you focus on, as Dr. mentioned, issues like osteoporosis are actually going to be quite rampant. So making sure that you focus on foods that are going to be able to do that. When it comes to, when you look at your plate, basically, as a woman going through menopause, make sure that you have natural foods, number one. Avoid foods that are processed, right? Really avoid processed foods, avoid sugar, avoid refined carbohydrates. One very easy way is for you to actually eat carbohydrates that are complex carbohydrates, meaning you just go on Google and type and ask Google what is the glycemic index of a certain food, whether it is rice, it is ugali, it is what. If you can stick to a number lower than 55, the better for you, because then that means you'll actually be balancing your blood sugar levels better, because when you get into menopause, again, you're more susceptible to other conditions, which if you maybe, let's say you are hypertensive, then you are going to...
Chances are very high that you might deep into that.
Exactly. Okay. So your diet and nutrition is very, very key.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Maybe you can add something to that, what she has been saying. Something very important. there is weight gain during menopause. So if you had a tendency of being overweight, then when it comes to menopause, unfortunately you may dip towards being obese.
Yeah.
That is one thing. There are issues with the hair loss as well,
exactly.
which is very, very important. All these are basically supported by the same hormone that we talked about, by estrogen.
Now, Dr. You talked about the different stages of menopause. You know,
Yes.
we said from the during the introduction, 45 to 55. There are cases where people can. Is it possible to experience this earlier than that?
Oh yes, we can.
And what is the cause? Because
actually we have different causes. The first one that I think we are talking about is the physiological one. You start your P's at 13, 14, and you get to around 45. They start playing hide and seek with you. They are there this month, 2 months they are not there. And when you think they have gone completely, they come back. And when they come back,
so that is now the perimenopause?
The perimenopause. The perimenopause. Now, the menopause sets in when you have a whole year without periods. That is now when you know, now I've actually hit menopause.
Yeah.
And then because from there, they will most probably not come back. And if you have a period, after that, then there is something that is not right.
So after 1 year?
After 1 year without a period. And then when you get a period, please see your gynecologist. Something is not right because it's not supposed to be that way. Or ladies who are 60, for example, who have not had a period for 10 years, and then all of a sudden they have a period, 70 years, 80 years. The other week, two months ago, my colleague's mother, who is 81, suddenly had a period all of a sudden and said, no, something is not right. Luckily, it was discovered that it was endometrial cancer, which was sorted out very, very early. Now, the other ways that somebody can experience menopause is through surgery. Because sometimes when you do surgery, and this is surgery whereby we remove the ovaries, because sometimes, because the ovaries are the source of estrogen. So once we remove the ovaries, then definitely we are going to go into menopause. There is no way out. The medications, some of the medications that we use, for example, when we use chemotherapy, because chemotherapy is going to affect the ovaries. And when it affects them, obviously they will not be producing the estrogen that is needed. Obviously you go into estrogen. Sometimes we actually induce chemical menopause for a period of time in some diseases. For example, endometriosis. In endometriosis, part of the treatment is to give medication whereby the ovaries are not working at all for about 6 months, sometimes even up to 12 months. By doing that, we stop the endometriosis from growing, because endometriosis generally thrives on the estrogen that is produced by the ovaries. And then there is a small percentage of patients, about 1%, whereby it is familial, in the sense that they reach 18 years, they don't have periods. They reach 20 years, and there are no periods. And when you check their hormone levels, you find their hormone levels are all over the place, meaning that they will not have a period at all. I've had 1 or 2 cases whereby young girls of 16, 17 years, you know, having no periods at all. When you check their hormone levels, it's as if they are ladies who are 50, 60 years old.
Is there a way of treating it?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we can give them tablets which have the hormones and which will continue working such that their bodies work as if they're having natural, normal periods. This is basically supplementation of the estrogen that they are not having.
Okay, and there's something also called is it hormone replacement therapy?
Yes.
So that's also something that you can advise for women who are menopausal and.
Absolutely, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Again, we don't talk about it in this part of the world. In Europe, I practiced in Poland, where I trained. I practiced in the UK. This is something which is very huge because, number one, there is a lot of awareness. Number two, the ways that you talked about, the hormone replacement therapy, it is something which is very big. Why? Because these ladies are aware and they want to feel okay. They don't want to have vaginal dryness. They don't want to have, urinary leakage of urine because that happens again. They want to enjoy their sex life till late in life, in their 70s. Why not? It is possible. So hormone replacement therapy is there, but there is a caveat to it as well. It is not for everybody. There are contraindications for hormone replacement therapy. For example, you said about hypertension, diabetes, and so on. So hypertension is a contraindication. Diabetes is also a contraindication. If you ever had a clot, for example, it's a contraindication. If you ever had major surgery, for example, brain surgery, and so on, it's also a contraindication. Yeah.
So let me give you a chance, Fatma. If you were to talk to a woman who is either, before the experience menopause, and those who are in that bracket of age, where now they're experiencing experiencing perimenopause, what are those critical, can I say, nutrients that they need to inculcate?
So the first thing is, I think, if you are a woman going through perimenopause or menopause, remember you have your adrenal glands that are your backup. So you have to support your adrenal glands in the sense that you have to eat foods that are rich in healthy fats. You have to eat a lot of more protein in your diet, because they're actually going to help you in proper hormone secretion and production. Something else that's important is also to approach it holistically, in the sense that when you think about your adrenal glands, they actually do also produce your stress hormones and so forth, from your cortisol to adrenaline. So you actually have to live a life that is very stress-free, in the sense that, yes, there's no perfect situation where you will not experience stress, but this is actually the time where you need to make sure that you have lower levels of stress. And if you do experience that, then try and incorporate ways that you can be able to manage your stress through fitness and nutrition, also through meditation. Sleep is also really big, because during this time where you're resting and you're sleeping, your body is also healing on its own, and so forth. So when it comes to diet and nutrition, I think it's important for a woman to remember that there's this notion with regards to fats. Most people are really afraid of them because they think they're going to gain weight, but we're talking about the healthy sources of fats, from your flax seeds to your pumpkin seeds to
so those are things that people can put. Okay,
fish.
Nowadays people do like what, smoothies and all
yes,
these
you
things?
can put in
so
your
they
smoothie.
Can put in.
You can have it for breakfast. You can have it for lunch and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Fatma. Our time is running out, and we've barely actually talked about so many things. But anyway, at least we are creating awareness, and so So, Dr. Mano, I'd like to close with you, and just help our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, our workmates, because you find that sometimes, like you said, your energy levels have gone down. The critical hormones are also not working as so you tend to also be affected in terms of your performance at work. So how can we support this group of women?
I think first of all is creating awareness, which is what we're doing right now, which is fantastic. That is number one. Awareness, awareness, awareness. Because the Bible says, my people perish because of what? Because of lack of knowledge. Yes. And this knowledge is available, and this is what we're doing. That is number one. Number two, the regular checkups. Those ones are really, really going to help, because they will catch, these symptoms, very, very early, and then they will be directed in the right way. And then number three, there's again connected with the regular checkups, doing a scan and so on will help us a lot. Because in some other countries, when you get to around perimenopause, they even do a bone scan, just to look at the bone mineral density. Just so that they can show your bone mineral density is not very good. We need to start supplementing you with supplements to help you in your menopause and perimenopause. And then lastly, I think to the men,
Yes.
Now I'm talking to the men.
Yes, please.
I think men, we need to support our wives. We need to support our mothers, our sisters, you know, and so on and so forth.
So thank you. I hope to have you once again back in the studio to talk about this particular topic. So thank you also so much back at home for tuning in, and I hope that you've learned a lot from just this discussion. We hope to bring more of this discussion to you and helping you take care of yourself back at home as a woman, and also helping you as a man support the women around you. So until next time, my name is Marie Yambo.